All right.
Whitewater Music Hall with another episode of Keep It Wausome. I've got in the studio today Layne Cozzolino.
Yep, Cozzolino.
Cozzolino. And Mindy McCord. Yeah. How you guys doing today?
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So before we get into their super awesome Siren Shrubs business, we're going to start off talking about what's going on at Whitewater Music Hall. We've got Parker Quinn Sims tonight, and he's playing at 7 p.m. So you can come on down if you're listening live and check that out. Feed the Dog is tomorrow, January 25th at 7 p.m. So good for them. And they're gonna have a slow food movie night, 6 p.m. Tuesday. You guys will be all down with that, right?
Yeah, that sounds fun. We're here.
Yeah. And then Substyle, where we're gonna have they're gonna be releasing their EP on February 7th at 7 p.m. right here at Whitewater Music Hall. And cool thing is they're gonna be on next week, Friday, to talk about their new EP and just kind of about music in general. I think that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's things going, guys?
Good.
Yeah.
Things
Busy.
are good. Yeah.
It's quite a cocktail you got there.
I know, this is awesome. Gin and Siren Shrubs Basil Gin and Tonic. It's awesome. They did a really great job making it. And it's nice that they have us on their menu and you can add Siren Shrubs to any of your cocktail needs here.
Yeah, let's back up and just talk a little bit about what Siren Shrubs is. What is a shrub? Because
Awesome.
when I first learned about it, I thought it was like a plant. You guys are starting a plant business. I was like,
We get that a lot.
We do get that a lot. It's very confusing. We didn't name it. It's actually a historical beverage from the 1800s. So the story goes that it was a way people preserved the season's bounty, adding vinegar and sugar to their fruits that were starting to turn, and then they would take that brine to public houses and add it to alcohol to mask the taste of alcohol. And since refrigeration came along, it kind of went away, but now it's back with the craft cocktail movement.
And now also with the Sober Curious movement and people that aren't as interested in drinking cocktails, we found that, and that was my introduction to shrubs, was pregnancy and not being able to drink. They have this really complex and awesome flavor that tricks you into thinking maybe you're having something, that feels more adult when you're not. And it's just this really nice thing.
I don't want to be super rude, but we do the live video works now.
Oh!
So apparently, just like turning it on and like not worrying about it for a little bit.
That's how it works.
Nice.
I don't know. Confusing.
We're live.
We're on, but no, that's great. Because actually, I tried. I think the first time. I don't know if I've ever had it in an actual alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
I think I've always made them like mocktails. Like it's great. If you have a bunch, you just get like some seltzer and whatever, and you can add it to it, and you get like an instant kind of a fancy drink.
Right.
Totally.
Instant.
And it's so easy to make, yeah. And you can, if you have a party or something like that where you're having a lot of people and you don't know everybody's drink preferences, to just have shrubs out next to some alcohol, next to some sparkling water, you kind of you fill the party gap. You make sure that everybody has something that they're gonna enjoy.
For sure.
And by the way, guys, I'm gonna try to keep track of if people ask questions, I'll ask them. If they're good questions, it's nothing bad.
They've got to be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't ask anything weird, but unless it's funny, But boundaries. But if you ask them, then for sure we'll. Oh, that's pointed at their feet. That's not good.
I wore my
Great
best
feet.
boots.
Yeah.
It's not on here though.
Snowy in Wausome, Wisconsin.
That's so weird. All right, I think that's a little better.
All right.
Oh no, I just have it pulled down. Yeah, that's normal. Okay. Yeah. This is what happens when you don't have a production person. You have to do it all yourself. Well, how did you guys get the idea for this? How did you come across it?
Yeah, I'll let you take that.
Okay. So in 2015, the New York Times put out a recipe for a shrub, and I feel like I love food. I'm really well versed in food, and I had never heard of it, and I didn't know what that was, and that was okay.
Yeah, and that's
New York
something because you were like the food.
Very well
Yeah,
versed.
food's my thing.
Like
food's my jam. Yeah.
Because for a little reference, you were the executive director at Farm Shed. Can you tell people a little bit about that and that role and what that is?
Sure. So for 8 years before coming full-time with Siren Shrub, I worked for Central Rivers Farm Shed, which is a nonprofit advocacy group that its mission is to grow the local food economy, and we do that by partnering with local farms and local food businesses to really grow the exposure for people to be more connected to their food. And so like I love food, and that's Mindy and I's relationship is based in that, loving food and loving to be active and create new recipes or be canning or fermenting or whatever. And so when I ran across this recipe, I made one and took it on a little event that we were doing, and we had it mixed, I think, with vodka at the time, and kind of enjoyed it. But it was really vinegary, and it was kind of like, this is weird, a little bit weird. And then that was the first time I'd made it, and then I got pregnant after that, and my husband ordered a sampler pack of a shrub company out in Michigan, and I had those to have as my like nightly ritual, my thing that I made myself this drink. My husband, likes to have a beer or wine or whatever after the day, and so it was like, I can have something special too. And Mindy, being my best friend, just started going crazy with flavors and making all these things.
There, we used to make things for the farmers market too,
right?
And sell them. And so then once Layne introduced shrubs, it was like, we've got to try all the flavors. We got to figure out how to sell these at the farmers market.
Yeah, totally.
And so we did.
Yeah,
and we did it
all
at the same time.
Right.
How long have you guys been BFFs?
Oh.
So I moved here 10 years ago.
So a decade.
Probably, like 9 or 10 years.
We met at MEJ's. We both worked at MEJ's in Stevens Point. I was the manager / barista, and Layne worked in the kitchen, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
So you both worked there. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I remember Mindy because I used to go there a lot when I lived in Stevens Point.
Yeah.
So when I was in the kitchen.
I was in grad school,
yeah.
I was on the cafe side for, I don't know, like 6 months or 7 months.
Yeah.
And there was a really great crew there at the time, many of who we were really close with still.
How far back does that go that you worked there?
That was 2010, so 10 years.
2010, okay. Yeah, because I moved, I think it was June of 2010.
Okay.
That I started at the Stevens Point Journal, and I worked there for about 5 years.
Yeah, so all the same type of timing.
Same type of time, yeah. Cool. Yeah, that MEJ's is a pretty interesting environment.
It's like, I still would say it was my favorite job that I've ever had.
Really?
Like, the people I worked with, the people that we served, the people that, making food, like, I loved the lunch rush, like, just feeling so much pressure to be able to, like, get food out of a teeny tiny kitchen. And it was my first food service job. And
they also cultivate a lot of local connections too. And
absolutely.
For me, that job was my first introduction to local food and what that meant and the type of community you can build around it.
Shout out to MEJ's.
MEJ's! Yeah, for sure.
It's been my new thing. I do shout outs.
That's great. That's good.
Oh yeah, just fair warning, we get canceled every 20 minutes.
What?
Like the lights all of a sudden go off and we have to wave and get them back on.
Oh, got it.
Okay. We've been canceled.
Nice. I love it.
It happens about 2 or 3 times an episode.
We talk with our hands a lot, so maybe we'll prevent it.
Yeah, you might actually prevent it from being on. Yeah.
Good call, Mindy. Yeah.
So, how did people? Cause, like you said, you're like knee deep in this food world, and you hadn't heard of it. So it's almost like you're starting from scratch with everybody. How do you handle that? How do you explain it to people? How do you get them to understand what this is about and try something brand new?
I think to back up a little bit to when I said what we used to do farmers market, and then we tried with shrubs, but then we didn't. I think that's a good place to start. So before we launched Siren Shrub Company, we had made hundreds of bottles of shrub to sell at the farmers market, and I mean to the point where I bought a second refrigerator for my house because we needed places to keep these shrubs because at the time they needed to be refrigerated in anticipation for the farmers market. And then we learned that the fine print of the pickle bill, which explain the pickle bill.
So for the pickle bill, you can sell things that were made in your home kitchen if they're at a certain acid point and they've been canned. By just telling people that, like, this is made in a home kitchen, has not been, has not passed regulation or testing or anything like that, because pickled things are pretty safe. Well, in all of my really great experience with food, and even knowing how these products are developed and why things are the way they are, in the fine print of the pickle bill was that you couldn't sell vinegar.
Oh,
And
that's a problem.
And I suppose, what is a shrub, right, for people that don't know
Yeah.
that? It's
right,
organic apple cider vinegar, organic cane sugar or maple syrup, and then whatever fruit or herb we're using.
Yeah.
So vinegar
Oh, that's
is
what it
like the number one
is the
ingredient.
base for our product. So whatever, hindsight being 2020, I was wrong. But anyway, I read that vinegar thing as like, okay, that's the fine print. We can't sell our shrubs because they're vinegar. But vinegar is a distilled product that's what they were actually talking about.
Oh.
But in my head, I psyched myself out so badly that we couldn't sell them at the farmer's market. But we totally could have, but we didn't.
Like, I gotta wonder how does that who enforces that anyway? Like, who's going?
So the health department comes to farmers markets.
Did they create a department of pickle police?
No, but the health department is responsible, and they come to your randomly
You with
and
the
not
apple cider
often.
vinegar, drop it.
Yeah, right.
Pickle police.
Pickle police.
So if we had been making a pure vinegar product, it wouldn't have been eligible. But because we had 3 ingredients, it was not just vinegar; it was a
Gotcha.
pickled product.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Mindy.
No.
I didn't realize this till way later.
Yeah. So, but that's okay because it all worked out.
It all
It's fine.
Pickle
So we
police
had a
satisfied.
refrigerator
Yeah.
full of shrubs and
Yeah.
nowhere to go with them, and
Mhm.
so we just started taking them everywhere, to parties, to any social event that we could, our workplaces, and just having people try them. And eventually we started sampling them at 11 Amp and like all
At
these
the
other
local food fair the
local
first
food
year,
fair.
And this is
which
all
is coming up
coming out.
February 8th.
February.
Be there.
Shout out.
We'll
Shout
be
out
there.
local
Shout out
food
Farm Shed.
And we
Yeah.
found that people loved them and were intrigued by them and excited by them, and we were like, well, maybe we need to like go beyond the farmers market and like actually just go for it. And so Layne and I and her husband Josh, Layne's husband Josh, decided that we were gonna take the leap and just give it a shot. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, but back to your question about the education, it's a very education heavy product, and we do find that when people can try it, they love it. But it's a hard thing to understand unless you have it in your hand and you're tasting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many people like me thought it was some kind of plant company?
Many people.
Most I think that will be the thing
Still
forever.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe not. It's
Yeah.
shifting.
our first hashtag was the other shrub.
The
Like
other
to try to get people to like know that we know you think it's a plant, but it's the other shrub.
The
So,
other one.
the other
Yeah.
shrub.
Yeah.
How did it grow from there?
Yeah, so we, like Mindy said, we started doing tastings, so we did the food fair. Then we were still selling products at the farmer's market, so we just, because we could give away product, we just couldn't sell.
We thought we
That's
could
what
sell
we thought.
right.
Anyway, we were giving it away. So we were having people try it in that regard. And we were also watching, there are other shrub companies. There weren't many when we were starting out, but we were watching that kind of blossoming and growing, and at the same time wondering like, if this is the time, like this is when we could be doing something really unique. And if you're a food lover or someone that wants to start a food business, one of the hardest things to do is find something that's like indefensibly unique, like
Right.
something that's actually not, because you can make all the salsa and your salsa may taste amazing, but you're
there's a
still
lot of salsa.
going
100
out
million
against
other salsas,
all
yeah.
the other salsas.
Right.
And so the
Yeah.
shrubs were crazy.
Yeah, didn't at the time, when I interviewed you, didn't you guys tell me there was like one other company in Wisconsin?
There still is one other company in Wisconsin.
Still one other.
But when we started, there was 15 companies that we knew of at least
Mhm.
in the world, and now it's
Wow.
like over 100. And we've been in business since August 2018. So
Really, since
Yeah.
April 2018
April.
is when we signed our paperwork. We
Oh,
didn't
right.
start selling shrub till August.
Okay,
Someone just had they were like,
Mhm.
when did you incorporate?
So
I was like,
almost
oh,
2
that's
years,
different.
yeah. but
Wow.
that just goes to show you how the market's just like it's tipped. It's like people want this non-alcoholic option that can also be put in your cocktails, but it's like it's trending. It's starting to trend.
It's trending.
Trending. Shrubs are trending.
Yeah.
The other shrub is trending.
Hashtag trending.
Yeah.
Shrubs.
Right. Yeah.
Hashtag. With the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do that?
Pound
Put the
sign.
3 fingers together. Pound
Yeah.
sign. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How widely distributed is it now?
So we're still in the state of Wisconsin. We have over 40 retailers, but then we're also shipping, and we've now shipped to 16 states.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's something that that we're excited about. I think that we want to. We would like to get into more states, but the self-distributing model, we only can get to so many places and talk to them about shrub, and so that's a little bit slower. But at the same time, I think we have now that we have at least an employee or a physical presence that's not just in our from when our kids go to bed, so 8:30 to whatever time we decide to go to bed that we're working on shrubs, and then if we have the weekends free or whatever, now that we have a little bit more of a dedication, we are hoping to just continue to grow. And we have an exciting another line coming that we think will be a better fit for distribution, that we kind of can't wait for. So
nice. How did you choose your initial flavors? Because one of them is cherry, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I love cherry stuff.
Scale has everything to do with all the choices we make. We've found it's really hard to scale. It's just a really interesting thing, and it really dictates a lot of your decisions, because if you can't get enough quantity of something, oftentimes you just have to let it go. There could be really good flavors that you would love to make, but if you can't find the quantity, and we adhere to a very strict value system as to where we're sourcing our products from, our ingredients from, and so oftentimes that limits us.
And I'll just add to why the scale is important. So we knew, because no one knows what the heck a shrub is. Some people do now. Good job. But because people didn't know what it was, and we were both working full-time jobs, and we had families, that we knew we couldn't be spending our weekends in the kitchen and then trying to sell it. So we knew immediately, well, not immediately, but we knew pretty quickly when we decided to change it to a business model that was going to turn into something bigger than the farmer's market, that we wanted wholesale clients, and that we wanted to produce it in a more scaled fashion. So we found a co-packer, and so we do all of our ingredient sourcing. We develop all of our relationships with our vendors. We time out when those things are going to be harvested, or if they're frozen, there are year-round that can always be available. But that was a really big piece of, all right, if our co-packer will only run 30 case minimums, that means
enough fruit or herb for
those runs. And then if they're seasonal only, like basil as an example, we have to get enough basil in that harvest over that season to know we can run not just a 30 case run, but what's going to last us the whole year.
Right.
So last year we had basil till December. Sold out in December. We weren't even done with our markets, and it was already gone. This year we have more basil, so we're still rounding out the year with some basil in inventory, hoping we probably won't make it till August when we will run basil again, but we'll get closer. And so we're just really trying to hone in and figure out what that looks like long term, and how much product do we need, and how do we develop those relationships with those farms to do that for us. And then sorry to keep talking, but then it's also having that cash flow. So you have to spend all that money and pay those farmers when they're harvesting it, but then that product's going to sell over an entire year.
Right.
So that's really tough for a small business. So figuring out what do we need, how does that financially work, and even some of the farmers have said we'll work with you on that because we know that you're going to sell it. It's just that we understand that maybe you need to give some payment in the spring, then some when it's harvested, and then some in the winter to spread that cash out. Because even if you're a successful business, you can have months where you have no cash.
Right. That's a challenge.
It's totally
a challenge because you have to kind of determine you kind of guesstimate how many you're going to sell in a year.
Totally.
And figure out the rate of how much it's going to increase. That rate of growth. That's a challenge. Yeah, scaling is one of the hardest things.
And it's also you always have to talk about your value busters. We could choose just to use frozen fruit or frozen availability from anywhere, but we choose not to, and so that limits us in some ways, but it also creates a really awesome product, I think.
Did you guys work with any business mentors in that aspect of it? I know you guys know food really well, but that part, it's if you haven't gone through it, and I know I've had Brian Gunning on the podcast back when it was live at Dailies,
Sure.
and he had started Wausome Foods,
I know, yeah,
Wausome
sure.
Wafers, and
Yep.
so we kind of talked about like how the business blew up and then kind of fell apart.
Okay.
And you know, his was kind of he was trying to scale up to the next level, and he had kind of a confluence of bad things happen at once. Like he got these orders, but he was having trouble getting the capital to fill them. And then right at the same time, he was picked up by one of these like snack boxes, and then the snack box like stiffed him on the bill, and like that killed his cash flow.
Right.
And you know, he had like I think it was like a big Midwest chain maybe of grocers that wanted to carry it, and that was a huge order. But he had no way to like fill it because he didn't have the money for production. He was running out of cash.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, and that's a really big deal. Like people, you know, will ask like, well, are you gonna be in Whole Foods, or are you gonna be here, or are you gonna be there? And it's like, to understand, or I don't know, for anybody who's like wants to get food geeky, you can like listen to podcasts that talk a lot about, you know, what if Target wanted a product? What you need to ramp that up is insane cash wise. And for a bank to lend that to you, because even if Target picks you up, Target will also blast you with, if your product doesn't move, if you don't have enough turns,
you're done.
And then they can sell you back all your product. So then you're like,
I was
you know,
gonna open that.
yeah, like, well, we got it to you, so could you just like sell it? But like, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
like
at that point, you better hope Stevens Point people like Siren
They
Shrubs,
rally,
it's
yeah.
gonna be at the farmers market for the next 200 years.
Right, exactly. And so yeah, like the cash thing in food is real, and it's like, and it's scary. And so, you know, where is that balance, and how big do we want to be, and where can we, you know, and then like
how fast do you want to grow?
Yeah,
really
how fast do you want to grow? And I think there's pieces of us that do want to ramp up. We want it to be a viable business, and we don't just want to do it as like a hobby, but we also, I think if Target came knocking on our door, we'd be like, we don't have the capacity to do that. We have no way to, we don't have the money, we don't have the investors, and do we want them? And so it's just kind of an interesting thing. But scale is a big
But also
deal.
something we're constantly thinking about, creating infrastructure for ourselves for potential like that. But
Yeah, but just
I
on
mean,
a slower.
But a year and a half in, if someone would come knock on your door and say, Ellen DeGeneres is like, we love your shrubs, we would have issues. I don't know,
Ellen. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're just kidding. We'll call you next week.
You're one. I'll bend over backwards. I love you that much. Yeah. No, but anyway,
So
that's like
speaking
the
of
silly stuff.
infrastructure, you guys are making a big move. The Altenburg Dairy Project is coming along. It
Yeah.
has a new name. I forgot the name. What is the name?
Central City Market.
Central City Market.
Yep. So Altenburg Cooperative is the like owner, and then that's kind of our persona is the Central City Market as our like branded, you know, being. Yeah, and so roof is off right now. Trusses come next week. We just got our appraisal back from the bank and are set for our closing for our loan, which is awesome.
Nice.
And
Then the roof will get put back on.
yeah, that's right. The roof came off.
There will be
Key
a
license.
roof.
Trusses are
You have to
coming.
put it back
Roof's
on.
coming back on. Yep. And then we've been seeking out investment, which has been awesome. And that's through cooperative shares. So people have been able to make an investment for a small dividend return rate, or a fine dividend return rate. I shouldn't say small, but and then and so phase 1 will be pretty much like the building cannot be told that it has to be raised. Like we have now
It's safe
secured,
and
it's
it's
safe,
secured.
we can be in there.
And we can begin warehousing when phase 1 is done.
There will be heat in the building. Yep,
When does
warehousing.
that part get done?
So,
March is
March,
the goal.
okay. Okay.
and then we're kind of aiming for by year's end having that marketplace up and running where there will be
We're canceling.
didn't move enough, we
Cancel.
didn't move enough.
There we go. We're back on the air.
Nice.
Renewed
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Right. So that's that, and so we're really excited, and just, you know, cooperating with that many people over, it's now been 11 months, so February last year is when we started meeting on that.
That's right.
And to have gotten it this far, and with all the people at the table, and listening to each other and making decisions, and also kind of like still pondering on hard pieces of that, and how do we continue to make strides, and it's all coming together. And one realization that was just said today is like, you know, we're the ones that get to make those choices about what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, so often I think you get this fear, this nervousness that like, who's gonna swoop in and make this decision? It's like, no, it can be what we want it to be. And whether that's like starting here and growing it out, so maybe it's a tasting room. We've talked about a tasting room.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a tasting room that's only open on the weekend until we grow a little bit and can
afford
make
an
it open
employee
every day
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that, it's like, let's just get it to this, you know, point in time where it's operating, people can come there, we can
They
see
can also
success.
vision the vision we
Right.
see
Yeah.
and get excited
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I recall, the idea is you guys are moving a lot of the production in-house with the move. Is that the case or not?
So we're kind of still waffling on that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, we have a really good thing right now with the business that we're working with in Mineral Point, Wisconsin Innovation Kitchen, and we kind of see we're gonna have a test kitchen where our idea of what we can do for the Altenburg Co-op is almost get licensed for ourselves to make batches that are unique to, you can only get them at the co-op, or you can only get them, you know, in this very small batch run, but continuing our relationship with the Wisconsin Innovation Kitchen to make our big
Or
runs.
big scale. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly because that's not going to be the right space for a
Full-on
full-on
production.
production kitchen.
Oh, gotcha.
And if we ever get to the point where we want to bring production home, it would be a separate
You'll probably
facility.
do different.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
Mhm.
It's. Can you talk a little bit about the overall project and what it is for folks that don't know, that might not have read my cover story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Altenburg Co-op is a collaboration between 5 food businesses in the Stevens Point area. It's Altenburg Dairy,
Yep.
who does dairy distribution, Upstream Cider, which is a hard cider company, Main Grain Bakery, which is an established, lovely bakery in Stevens Point, Siren Shrub Company,
That's us.
that's us. And then who am I missing?
And
Stevens
Stevens
Point
Point-
Area Co-op.
In the co-op, yeah.
So we all have different needs, but also similar problems. For instance, warehousing is something we're all going to share. There's potential for having distribution out of there. There's potential for having, you know, like shared employees for shipping and for all other things, right? There's opportunity for bulk ordering together. And then within that cooperative, there's potential for other people to join our reigns, right? Like Tapped Maple Syrup or other food companies that have similar needs, but we can kind of cater what we need within that model, and all help each other. So that's kind of the idea.
This is in the old Altenburg Dairy building that was set to be raised. And
Yeah.
like the city had said, hey, we gotta do something, it's falling apart.
Yeah.
And so this is like, this whole thing not only saves the building, but creates this new kind of destination.
Yeah.
Stevens Point, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the name, so we're talking about the cooperative, which we formed in order to take over the building, but we've reframed it as Central City Market, and that comes from, the building was built in the 1800s and was Central City Iron Works.
That's
And
right.
so that is where the name came from, and so Central City Market and kind of food entrepreneurship space is what you know will be there. So being able to come somewhere, or like us being involved in a project where you'll be able to come and taste shrubs and actually interface with us, you know, is something that's really important. And same for Upstream, and same for the Main Grain, and trying to create this unique place where that has this value in a neighborhood that is walkable and being a part of something is
Nice.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And can you guys talk a little bit about how the investment aspect of that works? Like we were looking at it, we were a little confused about, like at the office on, I think Thursday, like Alex and I were looking at it, we're like, well, wait a minute. So is it like a 2-year kind of grace period and then you start earning dividends? Is that how it works?
Yeah, and that's mostly just for our own, we're the cash outlay to put, like, to get the construction done is why you won't receive a dividend until, so you'll receive it in 2022 for the year 2021. So this is the only year, 2020, where you won't. In January of 2021, you won't receive your dividend. But it's not that dividend will still be paid out, just not, you know, it's still tacked on. We're just not going to pay it in cash. So you would get it, because we need us to be in there and actually bringing in some revenues in order for it
begin that process,
to begin that process. Where right now, this year, a lot of us won't actually be paying our rent, which will be the income generator of that, because we won't be in there. We'll just be
building out our spaces.
Building out our spaces, which we pay $100 a month just to reserve our space until we're in there. And so that's where one of the pieces of cash were as businesses contributing right away.
And Oldenburg Dairy is a full-on tenant in that building right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But we won't have enough. We won't have enough in the bank after building out until we have some of all our rents collected to then start paying out the dividends, and we'll be paying our mortgage too, because we'll have the loan on the building.
Right.
So
after that time in 2022, you start
That's
seeing,
when we
and then you see an annualized dividend.
exactly.
Sure does. That's a pretty good dividend, I thought.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the things that we all wanted to do. So we, as businesses entering into this and for putting out in the cooperative model, is about shared ownership. That's the most important thing about a cooperative. So if these people are going to invest in us, it's not at a rate of what, I don't know, when I listen to some of the how you built this or whatever, or how that what those investors or VC capitalists or venture capitalists are looking for is this isn't that. This is investing in a community project, and what you get in your 401k or whatever, a lot of times that return is 7%, but over a bazillion years. And this is 4.5, or I can't remember exactly, 3.75 on the $500, and I think it's 4.5 on the $5,000.
But you should fact check that on the website.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't even say
It might be.
Yeah.
But that was pretty good. That's what I recall. It was something like along those lines. So
and knowing that all right, this is, and we're in a very small community in central Wisconsin. We're not in Madison. We're not in Milwaukee, and so just considering those things, but wanting to make sure that people that invested got a return for what they were doing.
And I think it seems like a pretty safe investment. I mean the co-op itself, that's a strong anchor.
Right. So
and Oldenburg Dairy too, right?
Dairy and Main Grain Bakery. I mean, everybody. We're probably the newest.
It's
out
us
of
and then
everybody.
Upstream, and then the Main Grain, and then the co-op, and then Oldenburg Dairy.
But part of the appeal for that crew too is knowing that we trust we trust each other, and know that we have proven that we have established businesses that can be viable and sustain, and we all have similar values, and so there's a lot of trust there, and we feel that from our community too, is that the people that have invested thus far, you can just feel that they also trust us.
Yeah, and investing's kind of my jam. And,
oh, cool.
For 4.5 might not sound like a lot, but that's a guaranteed 4.5.
Right.
I might make, I made 20% last year, but the year before it was -8.
Sure.
So, you just never know. So there's a value that you apply. Some people disagree with how much it is, but there's a value to a guaranteed return. I have
it's less risk maybe.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's it's a return that you're going to get. Yeah. Even my emergency fund, I have it in a cash account that pays a little, now it's a little under 2 because the Fed keeps dropping the rates, but but it's it's guaranteed money. At no year is that ever gonna not be the case. So there's a value, and then I think a lot of people. One of the things Alex brought up too. And she's the one she's my coworker who also does the Maker Market.
Oh yeah.
You guys are here in Whitewater. We should put that on.
Totally.
Shout out, awesome
market,
market.
awesome market here and Wausome Makers Market.
Yeah.
And one of the things she was saying too is it's kind of cool to be knowing you're supporting a local business instead of just throwing it to wherever. So
yeah, and when talking to value systems, most of the money people put into the stock market, you aren't going to be really, if you dug deep, you wouldn't be happy with where that money is being spent. You, unless you're a socially responsible investor, which still even that is hard to pick apart to see that you're not funding arms and you're not funding whatever is terrifyingly real in this world. Sorry, to go deep and dark.
Let's go deep. Let's go deep. Well, and I want to back up a little to the shrubs too. Who are some of the farmers that are involved with making the shrubs?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
So every flavor we have is a farmer partnership, a Wisconsin farmer partnership. So basil, we've got White Feather Organics.
Yeah, shout out to Tony Dubs.
Tony.
And Laura. And the kids.
Yeah, and the kids.
Totally. Current is Bayfield Highland Valley.
Highland Valley Farm.
I'll say
John
about Tony was great too, because like I always would do these farm stories and I needed a photo, and like Tony was always like, come on out, take photos. And it was really hard because a lot of farmers, they never wanted to be in photos, and they never wanted to like have a photographer come out. They'd like talk over the phone or whatever. But
Sure.
I could never figure out why that was, and I spoke to Dan Milkey, and I was like, well, why does this always happen? And he said, well, a lot of farmers farms are kind of rustic, and I think a lot of farmers like feel like maybe a little embarrassed about how they look. I was like, well, that's what a farm's supposed to look like.
Right,
Sure.
right.
I never understood that, but Tony was always great. 'Cause he's just like, yeah, oh yeah, come on out, man.
Yeah. Very
He always had
transparent
that
farm.
big. He always had that big kind of hat too.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of
For
cool.
as long as
Yeah.
I've known him, he's had that hat. Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, so I thought Tony was probably the basil guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he's the basil
And
guy.
there's the one in Bayfield, you said, for the.
Bayfield for the
for the-
currants,
for
the
the-
black currants. Then we have rhubarb, which is Amherst Junction.
Just Amherst.
Just Amherst.
But Epic Nature Farm, Epic Nature LLC. Mm-hmm.
Then we have our tart cherry, Door County Sequest Orchard.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I
And
missing?
Tapped.
And tapped.
With
Maple syrup from our
maple
maple
ginger.
ginger.
By the way, I don't mean to
Solon
interrupt,
family.
but I thought your hats would get attention or headwear.
They have.
But my buddy Jared wrote in and said that it says Brian digging the flannel lumberjack.
Oh, nice!
Perfect. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say these white shirts, or these, mine's not white, but kind of. Like, oh. Alright, good job, nice.
But he also said so much style in this interview, so I guess that has to be like mostly on this side.
I don't know. You're styling.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
cool. Yeah. So how many shrubs are there now? Because there were two
Yeah.
when we talked back when. But
Yeah, so there's 5 now. So we
five
started
now,
with
wow.
tart cherry and basil, and then added on maple ginger, and then added on currant, and then added on rhubarb. And and so that's been a really fun kind of piece of it too, is just kind of realizing and understanding the different, what people love and what people don't maybe clamor to as much, but then also realizing that every one of the flavors is super unique, and I don't, so people are like, what's your favorite? And I'm like, I know, and I'm gonna answer this in the cliche, like every one of them, and they're all our babies and whatever, but they're very, very different from each other. And one of the things that we do when we like develop a flavor is we want that thing to taste like what people are expecting it to taste like. So like the rhubarb needs to come out, the cherry needs to come out.
You
and
have to be able, if you were closing your eyes and nobody was around you need to be able to identify what that flavor is.
Yeah. And there are other flavors here in Wisconsin that like our current producer wants us really badly to make a blueberry because he has tons of blueberries and he's ready to just like help us and provide those. But we haven't, and we're gonna keep trying, but we have not perfected like something to make blueberry come through. It's just this fruit that it disappears into itself.
You don't know what you're drinking necessarily. Yeah.
And most shrub companies have a pairing, like they will do, they'll do a couple of flavors, and really maple ginger is identified as 2 things, maple and ginger, but the maple being the sweetener, which the maple notes absolutely come through, but like we do try to concentrate on that one like boom flavor, like the ginger is the boom flavor, the cherry is the boom flavor, the basil is the boom flavor.
BoomFlavor.
Shout out to BoomFlavor.
BoomFlavor.
We've never called it that before, but that's like the thing is that we've like liked for that thing to jump out as a thing, the identifiable flavor.
Yeah,
Boom flavor.
Boom flavor.
Boom.
Hashtag Boom flavor.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But those farm partnerships, I just will like touch a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
So like that was absolutely something that was an immediate thing that we knew that we wanted to stay in line with our value system. Like we've worked in local food for 10 years, and it's like those relationships and being a piece of like how can we find and partner with farms to make something into a business that is thriving and vibrant, and
lifting other people up with
and
us.
and having partners along the way and being able to point to them. And so and we don't do it with all of our flavors because of ingredient prices and all of that, but knowing that every single Siren Shrub flavor, one of those ingredients absolutely is a relationship based on knowing them being part of something bigger. So
How'd you come up with Siren Shrubs?
So, you know about Paddle Quest, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Actually, oh man, I didn't bring my props out.
Oh,
props!
We didn't bring props.
No, I totally forgot. I have a bunch of Wausome slash Stevens Point. Look at Cluster
Oh,
Party.
yeah.
All right.
Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out, Matt Kurtz.
Shout out.
Kirsch.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a canoe adventure race for those that don't know. It's kind of like there's a bunch of different mystical characters and a whole storyline, and you're in a canoe and you're paddling hard all day, but you're approaching all these islands with different challenges. And
It's a weird thing because it's like a game slash race slash thing.
And it's really hard to understand unless you just go and try it and have a great time and just like be a part of it
and ask questions.
It's unlike anything you've ever done before.
This is what I love. This is what I love about Stevens Point is I feel like there's all these little quirky things like Paddle Quest.
Yeah.
You know that you just keep coming across that Stevens Point that has that's unique to it. I was super jealous that there was a Rolling Stone article about Paddle Quest.
That was such a funny year too, and the guy never that was there with us that weekend never necessarily said that that's who the article was for. He was just he was just there and hopping in everybody's canoes, and then this article came out in the Rolling Stones, and we were all like, that was that guy.
With the cannonball firing mayor of Stevens Point.
Yeah, right.
I love that.
So in that adventure race or Paddle Quest, we our characters have been for the past several years the Sirens of the Backwaters, and so when we were playing around with names forever of what we were going to name our shrub company. I mean, we could not hit the nail on the head.
And we came up with some really bad ones that we're very thankful we never.
I mean, they're pretty funny.
They are so bad.
Let's hear the bad ones. What's the worst?
The worst one is 3 Men in a Tub Shrub. And we had a moment where we were like, that's it.
No, we were like, they're in a tub shrub. The maker,
And then the lights went out.
And then we were like, we had a moment where we were like, how do we tell that story? We're two women and gosh, what is that story? And so we were trying to come up with a way to craft that. And then we finally just gave up on it. But it always makes for a good laugh now.
So beyond that one, we just couldn't, it was just this block. And we were sitting one night at a restaurant, the two of us, and Mindy would just always say ba-da-da, and then she'd sit back, ba-da-da, and she'd just say these names to see if they if that'd be it.
Would that stick?
And and then she was like, Siren Shrub Company, and I was like, I'm buying the website. And I got on right then with her, bought the website, didn't ask Josh, who was still with 3 Men in a Tub Shrub. And then he was like, well, so what are you saying about yourselves, the sirens? And we were like, no, it's not, that's not, we're and then the more we talked to him about it, he's like, okay, I get it, all right, I get it. Yeah, because of the Paddle Quest and because of the water and because of just, that's really where it was birthed. That's where it came to be. That is the event that we first had the shrub with the vodka when we were participants in Paddle Quest, but not the Sirens of the Backwaters.
And then you can
BoomFlavor.
loop it. You can loop it back to the historical meaning too, which is shrubs that originated on the sea as a way to preserve the season's bounty and prevent scurvy and all these things. So it just all kind of we found a million tie-ins as where 3 Men in a Shrub. We were like, where's the tie-ins? We don't have any tie-ins. What does this mean?
They're in a tub. They're sailing.
Yeah.
It was bad. Sometimes we have some bad ideas before we get to the good ones.
I don't know if we mentioned, but Jared wanted to know what you were drinking. I assume he's talking about you.
Yeah, so I was having a basil Siren Shrub gin and tonic. So with a little bit of lime, which is my favorite way to drink the basil shrub is in a gin and tonic.
And if you needed a recipe, it'd be 2 ounces of
amazing.
gin, top it with tonic and ice, and then an ounce of basil shrub in there with a squeeze of lime.
Or available right here at Whitewater Music Hall.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then if you're in the Wausome area, also at Downtown Grocery.
I was gonna ask. Yeah, I've seen them at Downtown Grocery.
Yep, and the Milk Merchant.
Milk Merchant. Oh yeah.
And now it's a local in Weston.
And the local too.
Just
the Weston one.
Just the Weston one.
It's not the Wausome one.
Right.
They banned you from the Wausome one.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. No, guys, I don't know. Yeah. They're just starting there. We just got in there 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
So,
Has no other drinking establishments have incorporated in the
Timekeeper Distillery has them on their menu,
Good.
as well as
Timekeeper.
Whitewater Music Hall. Yeah,
Yeah.
up here in
Gotcha.
Wausau.
You guys
Still working on more, so
If you have
Yeah.
any suggestions.
that's right.
Yeah.
For cocktails or mocktails, because one thing we may get eye rolls in Wisconsin about mocktails, but it is for sure. We live here. We're selling shrub in Wisconsin, and we get constantly that people are using them as a replacement for alcohol. That's a real thing. It's not a fake thing. So mocktails on menus, go for it. And you're going to sell drinks that aren't sodas, aren't iced tea, aren't lemonade. There's something different.
BoomFlavor.
BoomFlavor.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be the designated driver, right?
That's right.
I mean,
Totally.
You gotta somebody, and
There's a million reasons not to be drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
DD, or you want to wind down,
Yeah.
you know,
Or you just don't want to.
You have a drink, or you don't want to. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's all ranges. So
Right.
yeah, no, I'm down with that. Have
Absolutely.
you guys been out to Utah?
No.
It's a weird experience for Wisconsinites because you drink all this beer and you're like, I don't feel anything.
And
Yeah, 'cause
you have
it's
to
all
be a member of bars in Utah.
really. Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I
To
mean,
drink.
Or from Wisconsin.
I think-
Or they just give you a pass if you're.
I thought that maybe this has changed, but I thought in Utah you had to have a membership, or you had to drink in a separate place if you were just gonna have a drink compared to drinking when you're eating.
Oh.
Is that real?
I
Maybe
hope
making
you're
this up.
making it
No.
up. That'd be really.
I
Fact check
jumped that one
anybody?
night.
Yeah. Anybody know?
I'll check that one too.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I was there. I was in Salt Lake City in 2016, and we went to this one. Well, it was this after party. So I was at a alternative journalism conference, for
Cool.
weeklies, not for
Yeah.
dailies, and well, it was really strange because they had the after party at this bar where the women were kind of in booty shorts and stuff. It was really an odd place for a conference after party, and then they were we were drinking beer. And I was on my second one, and I remember looking at my coworker and I said, "Do you feel anything?" She's like, "Not really." And then they brought these Jello shots, and you were just eating them, and it was candy. There was nothing in them. It was just weird. It was kind of nice though, because you get just that little bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
and kinda
Is it
enjoy
3.2
yourself.
beer? Probably 3%.
Yeah, I think it might have been 2. Even.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Interesting.
and I was thinking first of course you get the whole well, I was gonna think I can take way more of this and this, and then you start thinking, well, that's actually not such a bad idea though.
Right.
So you can go out and kind of enjoy yourself and not have to worry about driving home or I try to bike. I try to use my bicycle for if I want to go out and drink too. So
Nice.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
Shout out to bicycles.
Shout
Oh,
out.
what? There's a ton of them. He's talking about everybody loves Raymond. Why is he? Oh, because they're talking about the name changes. Right, I guess Ray and Romano hated the name Everybody Loves Raymond, but they had already shot the pilot, so it was too late.
Got it. Well, good
It's
thing
those
It
are
worked
Jared
out,
says.
right?
they didn't shoot the pilot.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine what our brand would look like if it was that
He
name.
writes, I feel like you guys can see me, it's freaking me out. Oh.
We can.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So some bummer news in Stevens Point, the Fox Theater going down. That's pretty sad, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is sad, but I also think nothing's happened there since the 70s.
No.
At what point do you say this isn't viable anymore? I don't know. It's tough, and I think people where everybody was fighting for it for so long, and what was it going to be, and could it be
Well,
successful?
that seemed to be the kind of central crux of it, is that it wasn't ever going to be a theater again. It had to be something else.
And people are mad about that.
I
Yeah.
think
It's like,
as entrepreneurs, we've learned to at some points you just have to learn when you gotta say this isn't gonna work, or
Yeah.
you gotta walk away from it. And
Well, my understanding, especially from watching like some of the meetings that happened like toward the end, is that the Sanders family, like till the very end, were of the mindset that it was going to be a theater or nothing. It was going to come down, and well,
yeah.
it's coming down. So
Mm-hmm.
that's too bad, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it definitely. I mean, it's a bummer that it has to come down.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
we'll see what happens though, because it's coming down. Maybe something will.
rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, there's well, and, there was talk about saving the facade, but is that
I
still
think that's still happening.
Is that still happening? Yeah.
Is that not happening?
I'm not. I
No.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't
I'm not
speak
sure.
to it.
I thought that was still happening, but I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't. I guess that was in December, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember what they decided, but
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to be the like. I
Yeah.
think people were trying so hard, and it just wasn't coming together. And
It
what do
wasn't,
you
no.
do? I mean, as long as I've been at Farm Shed, that project had been a project,
yeah.
and it was just spinning wheels, and not because of effort was there. Like
Mhm.
so much effort, and then
Sounded
you're
like
just
there
like,
was some roadblocks behind the scenes that were just impossible to overcome.
yeah.
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 Yeah,
I
because
mean,
I
there's
remember
a
that
lot
was
of money you need to raise,
a lot
and
of money.
raising money
Yeah.
in Point, I mean, is not easy. It's a small community. I mean, there's just tons of things
Yeah.
that, I think, like when you said, like, you just, sometimes it's like, it may be the bummer, but like, what are you gonna do when you
Yeah.
put this much energy towards something? Maybe it's time to transition energy towards something that's gonna work.
With our experience with Altenburg Co-op too, it's got to be the perfect formula. Like it has to be the perfect timing and the perfect group of people and the perfect everything to make
Yeah.
something like that move.
Well, it almost seems like the equivalent would have been if like Mr. Altenberg had been like, well, this is going to be a thriving big dairy operation again. You know,
Right.
like probably not. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
What kind of do you hear a lot of chatter about the Fox like in Stevens Point? You hear people talking about it? Or is it kind of this where people just kind of resign like?
I think since it stopped, I haven't heard like that much more. I used to hear a lot.
I think there's a lot of chatter still, but I think it's a very
Yeah.
high emotion topic.
It
There's a
is.
lot of nostalgia attached to it. There's a lot of, people remember what it used to be, and I think that it has carried throughout the entire conversation. It's been a through line, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for some people to let that image of what they want the downtown to be go. But I think it could become something. Who knows? Who knows what's going to rise in its place? That's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, and close scene.
New topic. Yeah.
Well, we were knee deep in national exposure for our snowball ordinance a little while back,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy. It comes up like every 3 years, just because there's like there's like an ordinance against projectiles.
Explain the ordinance.
Yeah, so basically it says that you can't like shoot arrows at people or
Oh, that's
throw bullets, and then one of the things that's included is snowballs.
Huh.
And so every 3 years or so, like some national organization gets a hold of this story. It's like there's a city in Wisconsin that
I remember-
banned snowballs. And
I haven't seen it this year, but I remember a few years ago.
like this year it got crazy because people were like, this horrible city in Wisconsin banned snowballs, and then they everything they wrote was wrong. It was just they totally messed up the story.
Oh.
And so then it became this thing that, because it had been on the books from since the 1800s, and it's just one of those old weird quirky rules.
Yeah.
And so the mayor and the deputy police chief made this video where they're like, the police are out throwing snowballs at each other, and they're saying, well, here's what it actually is, and they kind of explained it. And then perfectly timed, the chief deputy grabs a snowball, turns around and flings it, and just pelts the mayor right on the head. It's the funniest thing.
Oh my gosh. Nice.
Yeah, so that was our little claim to fame here in Wausome. Yeah.
Cool. That's fun.
Have you guys been following the mic drop challenge?
So I don't know. I just recently saw something, but I mean I've been seeing it, but I haven't been following. What was it we just recently said? I don't know. There was one post I think yesterday or something that I saw.
So for people that don't know, like Mayor Mike Wiesa and Sheriff Mike Lucas in Stevens Point basically challenged each other to lose, like have a weight loss contest. So they're both, kind of husky dudes. I knew them both pretty well when I worked in Point. But
Sure.
They both have a pretty good sense of humor. So I've been like, it just cracks me up because like I think the sheriff sent a box of donuts to the mayor and
Okay, yeah.
labeled them like carb free or something.
Sure, yeah. And I thought that there was maybe a retaliation on Mayor Wiesa's.
I bet there was. I might have missed that.
And I think that's what I saw because it was something like that was not good for him. That he was like, "This will do something."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Totally.
Do you guys love Stevens Point?
Yes.
Oh my god, with all
Love
my
it.
heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I it's like a running joke in my family that my stepdad, so we used to live in Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, so, but we would vacation on Madeline Island and outside of Bayfield.
Yeah.
So we would drive up through Point all the way to Madeline, and my stepdad would always say, you should go look at UW Stevens Point, and my stepdad says he gets on like these kicks.
Yeah.
That like he won't let something go,
Mhm.
and so he'll say it until you're like, I'm not gonna do that. Just stop saying it.
Right, yeah.
And so that was like UW Stevens Point. I was like, why? I'm not going there. I don't know why you say that every time, every summer as we drive through. So like when I was starting to look for grad schools and UW Stevens Point had the program, my stepdad was like, oh, I did it. We knew you were gonna end up there.
Your stepdad's like, BoomFlavor.
BoomFlavor, yeah. And so it's funny because I didn't know, I mean, other than passing through, I didn't know anything about this community. I had no idea what I didn't know anything about it, and got into school and started commuting from Milwaukee, and then got involved with both MEJs, and those were people that when I sat there during my commute, I would study there between classes, and those were the first people that I got to know, and then moved in January of 2010, so 10 years ago, and it was like, I don't probably never leave. It's just, it's my people, it's my place, and I think that for me, growing up and like being moved in the middle of my high school year to a totally new community, I think I'd been searching for home ever since then, and only found it when I got to Central Wisconsin and Stevens Point in general. It's
Nice.
a really special and amazing place.
It is, yeah. And I discovered the community and the community that I love after college, and I'm not sure why that is. It's just that I had to stretch outside of my box or something after I graduated.
We were talking about that before the show, like, because I went to UWSP as well, and it didn't really feel like I got to know even the campus, let alone the community, until like after I actually moved to Stevens Point, because I commuted.
Sure.
I think it was 3 or 4 years. I think 4 years. I think 4 years part time
Yeah.
to finish my degree, and then then I moved, and it's like you learn all these things, like we were talking.
Battle Quest, or like all these little
Battle
hidden
Quest, yeah.
gems where you're like, what is this and what is this place? It's like magical.
Even on campus, like that natural history natural BoomFlavor.
Yeah.
That natural history museum in the library. Like I didn't know that was there. 4 years on campus, and I went all over the library. I would go on all the other floors and explore them.
Yeah.
And like you could go up, if you went up like 3 or 4 floors, you could be like the only person on the floor,
Yeah.
even on a busy day, and just like kind of chill and eat your homework and relax. But never knew it was there. I didn't know that they had such a strong acting program.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know. It's like you gotta kind of be willing to like zoom in a little bit or something, and when you do, you get hooked.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things is that there's advocates for everything. So it's a community that is not scared to get involved. It's not scared to put time and energy and sweat and love and tears and whatever into the things they care about, and it goes across whatever you care about. It's like whether you care about food, whether you care about animals, whether you care about inmates, whether you care about like whatever it is. There's an organization or a group that's trying to put energy there to make the world a better place, and so you can find your people, and then and then they're interwoven, and then
Yeah.
you get connected to all these different groups just by getting involved. It's like if you get involved in Point, you're gonna stay busy, and people are gonna be like, I can plug you in here, 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 and you can just get connected easy.
Yeah, now I have like cool stuff. I mean, the farm shed's growing to this crazy machine now. It's this big thing, and then I get the idea center. Like that's really taken off too.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's pretty impressive. Like I know what Greg Wright is doing with that. It's pretty awesome.
BoomFlavor.
BoomFlavor.
That's the new instead of saying shout out.
Yeah.
Say BoomFlavor.
BoomFlavor.
Us too.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's awesome. Yeah, I miss Stevens Point sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we loved having you there.
I appreciate that. I like to be.
We love having you here too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like Stevens Point always had a cool vibe, and I think Wausome's starting to kind of develop that too. It took a little longer, I think, but I think that's starting to grow. But yeah, I still wonder, like, once I hang up my notebook and pen, you know, where will I go? And you know, I might move back to Stevens Point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So.
I canceled again.
Hey-o, hey-o.
I gotta stand up. It never works unless I stand up. Here we are.
Here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it'll be a sad day when you hang that up. So hopefully
Wow.
that's far down the road because you're a really good journalist.
Oh,
So.
thanks. I appreciate that.
Totally.
This is the whole reason I have this show, is so people can say nice things about me.
Yeah. That's what I need to do is start a podcast.
You're right. So we appreciate what you guys are doing too.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you, how does it feel to be like fully? I mean, you guys are like dove in now, right? Like, are you still at the county?
I'm still with the county full time, but Layne is fully
Layne's
fully in.
Yeah, I think that we're both excited that we have that we're putting that energy into the business because we both see so much potential for it, and you can only do so much when you're working and you have a family, and so now the time to grow. And we mentioned that we've got new projects coming on that we think are really going to just be a new and interesting part of the business model, and more collaboration and Altenburg and all of it. And so it does feel good. I don't think I couldn't have ever imagined leaving Farm Shed because that was kind of it for me in my head. That was everything. It was like my heart and soul was there. And so to now have that in such amazing hands and being able to grow this with Mindy is like kind of a dream come true. And like Jenny and I talk all the time, and I am just so proud to have been a part of that development and now like this development. But I've also started to realize about myself, like I'm a builder. I like the ground floor. Like I like that. I like the figuring it out and like making mistakes.
Yeah.
And having to like
It's
but and just being like, okay, well now what? How do we
figure it out?
Yeah, and like what's the next like adaptation that we have to, like, where do we have to turn attention or whatever? And I realize it, and like I really like those things.
That's
like
awesome.
I thrive on that stuff.
And since October, which is when Layne went on full time with Siren Shrubs, we've already grown rapidly, and I feel like this whole thing has been really rapid.
Yeah, I mean we're not 2 years old yet.
And it's
nuts.
you never have a moment to pump the brakes and like, okay, where did we start? Where have we come? Like every once in a while you just get hit with these moments where like we have five flavors now, or like whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you're doing. But she's doing a great job growing.
We're doing a great job.
Yeah. Like your dedication to that time has been amazing.
That's awesome.
It's fun. And like we're pretty funny together. It's really good.
We're funny. We're very funny.
I mean, like she has qualities I don't have.
Yeah, we're very different.
It's like and we bring like different. We just bring things that, in my eyes, are like, well, what's made this all work?
Nice.
So
We complement each other.
yeah.
Do compliment and compliment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
So, how do you want people to find you guys? That's the best way.
www.sirenshrubs.com. Well, we also have an awesome Instagram account and Facebook. If you follow us on social media, we get tons of recipes and just some insights into our current challenges and successes, and I mean just the inside scoop. I think we try to be pretty genuine about our whole experience, so we hope that's reflected in all of those outlets. But you can buy Siren Shrubs online, or we have where to buy it if you want to buy it locally on our website.
And tell them the website one more time.
www.
You can just type in
SirenShrubs.com. Do you have to say www
No,
anymore?
not anymore.
Okay, SirenShrubs.com.
Oh, with the W's.
Get rid of the W's.
No more
Not the
W's.
90s.
Enough W's.
Sorry.
Enough with the
No,
W's.
that's great. SirenShrubs.com.
And the handle is just, they should just search Siren Shrubs Company to find on Instagram and.
The handle's just
Facebook.
at Siren Shrubs.
Okay.
And so both like Facebook.com Siren Shrubs or /Siren Shrubs. Same with Instagram /Siren Shrubs.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm BC Kowalski. You can find me on Twitter at BC_Kowalski. Same thing on Instagram, BC_Kowalski. And I'm on Facebook somewhere too. All right, well that's
Sorry, Ford. No, I get with it, right?
HTTP.
Yeah, that's right.
//
Wait, is it 2 or 3 backslashes?
Cool.
Thanks
Okay,
for
well,
having us.
Yeah, thanks. And so I always close out the the show with, I have my guests say "Keep it Wausome."
Okay.
So you gotta say "Keep it Wausome."
Keep
it
it awesome.
Keep it Wausome. Maybe we should say "Keep it Stevens Pointy" too.
Keep it Stevens
Keep
Pointy.
it Stevens Pointy.
And one. Shout out.
Thanks.
Boomtown.
BoomFlavor.
www.boomtown.
Boomtown.
Oh, we'll find it in there.
www. Dad. That's really funny.
I don't know. Oh, I love it, McCord. Just show your age.